Winter weather seems to be unpredictable and unforgiving every single year. Here in Arkansas, we've had some sub-zero temperatures and a lot of snow. So I put on my winter jacket, my earmuffs, and I even had on fluffy socks to prepare myself for the freezing weather. The first thing I do in the morning is grab their feed pans from the night before. They're normally going to get them really dirty, move them around in their shavings and stomp on them. So usually at night, if I can remember to take them out, I do, but I left them in there last night, so I'm going to grab them out of their stalls, make sure I shut their stall doors behind me because they will leave, and go rinse out their feed pans. I don't want them eating on dirty shavings or anything like that, so I try to keep where they eat really clean for them. So once I get both feed pans rinsed out, I'm going to take them into the feed room to start preparing their breakfast. Once I get that feed barrel open, Chester gets 1 scoop of grain in the mornings, so I kind of measure it out, and then I go grab Kite's bucket out of his stall, and he also gets 1 scoop of grain in the morning. Now I'm done with the Purina Senior, and I move on to what Dakota eats. He gets a 1.5 cups of high-gain munga, so Dakota does not eat grain like the other two. So there I am. I'm going to measure that out and then start doing their supplements. Every horse gets a scoop of Equinety, and every horse gets a dash of salt on their feed in the morning. This is especially important in the winter to keep them drinking. And then Dakota and Chester get a tube of Succeed each on their food. And now it's time to deliver it. They have a very good Uber Eats system going. So there I put Chester's food in his stall, and he immediately starts gobbling it up, and Dakota does as well. Kite choked the other night, and it was kind of scary, so now he is a certified oldie, so he has got to get his food soaked to make it really soft. So here we're carrying Kite water and his breakfast, and he's trying to escape to get to his breakfast faster, so it takes me a minute to get in his stall and kind of push him back. He's always been a little rude, and he's 24, so I think he is stuck in his ways. I am happy though to see that he likes it. He is kind of picky, so I was worried that he wouldn't eat if we soaked it, but obviously that is not a problem. And that was the first time we ever had a scare about choking with any horse in my whole time of riding, so I definitely never want to experience that again. Now that everyone is eating, we are going to get some alfalfa steaming. I love steaming their alfalfa, especially in the winter, because it makes it really warm for the horses. I'm going to put in a few flakes into that hay chest, push them down into the spikes to make sure they are in there good and that they're going to get really steamy. I put a lot of alfalfa in this day, so you can see me having a little bit of trouble trying to shove it all down into the hay chest, but I got it, don't worry. I'm going to fill up the jug with hot water. This way the steam does not take as long to get hot. The steamer is metal, so it's going to be really cold, so I want to help it heat that water up quick. I pour a little bit of water onto the alfalfa directly and then start filling up the steamer half. And so once I have that filled up and I made sure there was enough water, I plug it in and turn it on. This is going to take exactly 60 minutes to steam, so we are going to get to work on our other chores that we do every single morning. So I'm going to go into Chester's stall and get his cute halter on him. I love this halter because it has his name on it and it looks so pretty. He's really not happy about this system since they have not been able to go out because of the ice. But today, while I clean his stall, he gets walked around for 10 minutes, really making him stretch out and be a little physically active despite having to be stuck in the stall just a little bit more than normal. I did take his feed pan out while I clean his stall, and he's trying to get into the hay steamer there. And now I'm going to get to work on Chester's stall. Since they're in all night, they tend to be worse in the morning. So I'm going to really dig out Chester's pee spot. I do like that Chester only goes in one place though. It makes cleaning his stall a lot easier. I kind of wish all horses had a designated area, but they don't. Every horse's stall is different, which is kind of interesting to see. So you can see I'm trying to sift everything out, trying to keep as many clean shavings as I can, but any shaving that is wet, I do get out. You don't want them standing on wet because that can lead to funguses and bacteria in their feet. I have been cleaning their stalls twice a day, so once in the morning and once in the evening, really keeping their cleanliness under control. Once I've scooped out the majority of the wet shavings and picked out everything that I could see, I'm going to start scraping down from the sides to find anything he may have hidden up there against the wall. Chester loves to hide stuff under the shavings, so I want to make sure I don't leave any stone unturned in here. I want them to be really, really clean and really cozy for the horses. So I'm really taking my time getting the shavings scraped down from against the wall and just picking every little thing that rolls out, but the majority of his stall is clean at this point. Just doing the finishing touches here and deciding whether or not I think he needs more shavings for the day. In the winter, I tend to overbed their stalls a little bit. I want to make sure their stall is super soft on their feet, and I want to make sure they are very comfortable with laying down and especially warm. So now that I'm done with his stall, I'm going to move that giant wheelbarrow out of the way and start working on the water buckets. He is drinking really good, which is a blessing, but his little water bucket is getting just a little frozen. The other bucket is heated, so I get it down and unplug it. He gets a lot of alfalfa in this one, but before we rinse him out, I'm going to bed his stall with some more shavings. He really, really loves the shavings, so I'm sure he's so happy that I've started putting more in. I mean, my wallet's not happy, but I'm sure Chester is. I kick those shavings around to kind of break up that compressed block of shavings, and then I try my best to evenly spread them around the stall, but I like to keep it a little more bedded in his pee spot. Since he always pees over there, I like to make sure there's plenty of shavings to soak it up. Now that he is done walking, he gets to go back into his fresh stall. I hang up his halter and give him just a little bit of a snack to keep him happy while I do more chores and while that hay is steaming. Now it's Dakota's turn, so I'm going to put on his Dr. Pepper halter that I love so much. It looks so cute on him, and then he goes to walk while I clean his stall. This is just to really get him moving and to give their brain something else to think about. Before I get the wheelbarrow into Dakota's stall, I'm going to get his giant hay gain forager out of there, and of course his feed pan so I don't get it gross and so I can have it out for dinner later this day. So I'm going to pull that full wheelbarrow in, and I'm going to try to pile up as much stuff as I can, because I especially only ever want to take one trip, but in the winter I absolutely hate having to take more than one trip because it's so cold, so windy, and there's snow falling. So I'm trying to pile as much stuff into this wheelbarrow as I possibly can. Dakota is very different than Chester in the fact that he likes to just mix all of his shavings together. There's no designated spot where he does anything. He just kind of goes all over the place and then walks around and pushes the shavings all together, and it just makes everything so gross. So I tend to have to take more shavings out of his stall than I have to take out of Chester's, but here I am just sifting everything, trying to get all of those wet shavings out of there. And once I do that, I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier and scrape down those clean shavings from the side. A lot of these shavings are really untouched because they lay down, roll, push them up there, and they don't get walked on. So I'm just scraping those down, picking out whatever comes out of them, whatever little secret they have for me to pick, and I go around the whole stall doing this, making sure it is spotless for him. And I kind of take out some of the alfalfa from the night before that he left on the ground just because it's a little gross. I don't want him eating alfalfa he's used the bathroom on. So I get that out and just keep working on this stall, trying to make it really, really clean and make sure I don't miss anything in here. As soon as I'm done cleaning, Dakota gets to go back in his stall, and I did not have to add any extra shavings to his stall because he had enough stored up on the sides of the wall for me. I open the garage door and go out into the weather, so I'm geared back up with gloves, my earmuffs, my giant jacket, and everything to make my journey to the poop pile to dump the wheelbarrow. It was so cold and windy this day, so I just love winter. I make sure I get all of the shavings and everything out of the wheelbarrow before I take it back in. It was definitely a miracle that I did not slip and bust it out here. I may or may not have done that once or twice. So I rolled the wheelbarrow all the way back in. Thankfully, it's not too far of a walk really from the barn to the poop pile, but now I have to wait patiently for someone to open the garage door and let me back in. We're just really trying to keep that cold air out and the barn warm. This barn has stayed really warm for us, which I'm really happy about. The thermometer in here says it stays at about 30 even when it's -2 outside, so I'm just really, really thankful for that. I throw Dakota a snack and start working on the water buckets. I'm gonna dump out that dirty water. Chester likes to get alfalfa all in his water. There you can see the ice in that one falling out, so I run some hot water on it to melt the ice and get it out, and now I'm gonna fill it up with this really hot water. It does not take long for it to cool off. You can see me feeling the temperature to make sure they won't burn their mouths on it, but again, it cools off really fast in this weather. I'm gonna rinse out that bucket before I start filling it up, and I check its temperature, and I love the horses so much, so I carry them the full water buckets back and forth so they have really nice warm water to drink, and Chester just could not wait. He had to stop me right at the door to get a nice drink of that warm water. You can tell the horses really love it, so I think it's a necessity in the winter. I'll even go fill up the water in the bathroom if I have to sometimes. I wouldn't want to drink icy cold water when it's 20 degrees, so I don't blame them. I hang that bucket back up, and of course, Chester poops in his freshly clean stall that I slaved over. I carry him this full heated bucket into his stall, which is a lot heavier than a normal bucket. Whatever's in there, like the heater part, is a lot heavier. So I get it in the bucket holder, make sure it's secure, and then I'm going to plug it back up so it can do its job and keep that water from freezing. Once I get that plugged up, the hay steamer is done, so I turn it off. The cat was taking a nice nap on the alfalfa, and now we're going to get that hay chest open and all that nice steam is going to escape, and it actually warmed it up quite a bit in here. I put on my gloves and start grabbing the alfalfa out. Once it's out of the hay chest, it cools down much faster for the horses. So I'm reaching my hands down in there with my gloves, of course, so I don't burn my hands, and getting it out into the air so it can cool off a lot quicker. And I'm going to start filling up Chester's hay bag. He always gets a hay bag in the morning and then again for the night. A lot of forage is going to keep them warmer, probably even warmer than a blanket sometimes. So if they always have something to eat, their body is always producing heat for them. And he normally makes me work to get this hay bag clipped without him yanking the hay bag out of my hands. He is just aggressive like that, always starving, of course. Now I'm going to undo the forager, get the regulator out, which sometimes takes me a second, but it's not too terribly hard. And I'm going to start filling it up with that steamed alfalfa. The steam is going to kill any mold, it's going to get rid of dirt, it's going to make it nice and warm, and it makes it really soft, so the horses just absolutely love it. I roll the forager in there, and I don't really have a point in rolling it to the back like I normally want it, because he just moves it all around wherever his heart desires, so there's no point. And then I'm going to kite some of this nice alfalfa for him to snack on, and that is pretty much my morning. I carried even more of that steam creamed over in a bucket for him, and he was so excited about it. He loves it. All the horses do, even if they're picky eaters. So that is going to really conclude my morning here. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you subscribe. Bye.